Ishtupad Paramahamsa Parivedita Sarvashtotrishata Shri Shri ISKCON founder Acharya, BBT founder Acharya Sri the whole world Jagat Guru Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Granthrat Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chimanarottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudhirayet Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 2, Prayers by the Demigods, Text 17. Saha Bibrat Paurusham Dhama Sabibrat Paurusham Dhama Brajamanaha Yatha Ravihi Brajamana Yatha Ravihi Durasadaha Ati Durdarshaha Durasatoti Durdarsho Bhutanam Sambhabhuva Ha Bhutanam Sambhabhuvaha Sabibrat Paurusham Dhama Brajamano Yataravihi Durasadoti Durdarsho Bhutanam Sambhabhuvaha Sabibrat Paurusham Dhama Brajamano Yataravihi Durasadoti Durdarsho Bhutanam Sambhabhuvaha. Saha he Vasudeva Bibrat carried Paurusham pertaining to the Supreme Person, Dhama the spiritual effulgence, Brajamanaha illuminating, Yatha as, Ravihi sunshine, Durasadaha very difficult even to look at, difficult to understand by sensory perception, Ati Durdarshaha approachable with great difficulty, Bhutana of all living entities, Sambhabhuva so he became, Ha positively, Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Bhajacharana Arvind, Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Translation. While carrying the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead within the core of his heart, Vasudeva bore the Lord's transcendently illuminating effulgence, and thus he became as bright as the sun. He was therefore very difficult to see or approach through sensory perception. Indeed, he was unapproachable and unperceivable even for such formidable men as Kamsa, and not only for Kamsa, but for all living entities. Can you repeat the translation? While carrying the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead within the core of his heart, Vasudeva bore the Lord's transcendently illuminating effulgence, and thus he became as bright as the sun. He was therefore very difficult to see or approach through sensory perception. Indeed, he was unapproachable and unperceivable even for such formidable men as Kamsa, and not only for Kamsa, but for all living entities. Purport. The word Dhamma is significant. Dhamma refers to the place where the Supreme Personality of Godhead resides. In the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam 1.1.1, it is said, Dhamna Svena Sada Nirastakuhakam Satyam Param Dhimahi. In the abode of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there is no influence of material energy. Dhamna Svena Sada Nirastakuhakam. Any place where the Supreme Personality of Godhead is present by His name, form, qualities, or paraphernalia immediately becomes a Dhamma. For example, we speak of Vrindavana Dhama, Dwaraka Dhama, and Mathura Dhama because in these places the name, fame, qualities, and paraphernalia of the Supreme Personality of God, Supreme Godhead, are always present. Similarly, if one is empowered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead to do something, the core of his heart becomes a Dhamma, and thus he becomes so extraordinarily powerful that not only his enemies, but also people in general are astonished to observe his activities. Because he is unapproachable, his enemies are simply struck with wonder, as explained here by the words Durasado Atidurdarshaha. The words Paurusham Dhama have been explained by various acharyas. Sri Veeraraghava Acharya says that these words refer to the effulgence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vijayadvaja says that they signify Vishnu Tejas, and Shukadeva says Bhagavat Swarupa. The Vaishnava Toshini says that these words indicate the influence of the Supreme Lord's effulgence. And Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakur says that they signify the appearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus ends the Bhaktivinoda purport and translation to Canto 10, Chapter 2, text number 17 of Srimad Bhagavatam. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschati Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Bibrat Paurusham. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Paurusham, the most powerful Supreme Lord. Bibrat was carried by whom? Saha, Vasudeva, within the core of his heart. So Saha Bibrat Paurusham. Vasudeva carried Krishna within the core of his heart. Dhama Brajamanaha Yatharavihi. And when Vasudeva was carrying Krishna within the core of his heart, what happened to Vasudeva? That is described. Dhama Brajamanaha Yatharavihi. Yatharavihi. Just like sun is very, very effulgent, extremely effulgent and brilliant. Similarly, Dhama Brajamanaha. The Lord's body is also transcendentally illuminating with effulgence. In fact, the sun shares only a portion of Krishna's transcendental bodily effulgence, which is called Brahma Jyoti. So, because Vasudeva was carrying Krishna within his heart, and Krishna is full of transcendental effulgence, illuminating all around him, Vasudeva also became brilliantly effulgent and illuminating like the sun. So that's the comparison here. Vasudeva's body also was transcendently illuminating and radiating illumination because of the Lord's effulgence. That's how Vasudeva was seen. But he was not seen. That is the next description. Although he is so transcendently illuminating, Vasudeva was illuminating so much, giving out so much illumination because of carrying Krishna, who is transcendently illuminating. Still, is an irony here. Durasadaha. Nobody was able to look at him. Dark place, you don't see anything. A place full of light, not able to see at all. This also happens. How? When? In our experience, you can see the sun is illuminating the entire universe, but you cannot look at the sun directly. It's quite difficult. You have to close your eyes. Isn't it? Because it's so illuminating, powerfully illuminating. His radiance. It's very difficult to look at. So Vasudeva also was very difficult to be looked at. Durasadaha. Very difficult to look at. He was therefore very difficult to see. Another meaning also is very difficult to understand through sensory perception what was happening to Vasudeva. Why he became transcendently effulgent. First of all, nobody knew. Nobody could understand. Nobody could comprehend what is going on. It was very difficult to see or approach through sensory perception. So whether the Lord or the Lord's pure devotees, what they do, nobody can understand through their sensory perception or through the strength of their material senses. That means through your intelligence, through your mind power, you cannot understand the activities and the movements of the Lord or the Lord's pure devotee. So that's why it is said, Vaishnavera Kriya Mudra Vigneha Na Bhujaya. What a Vaishnava does, nobody can understand his moves. Just like the Lord, what is he planning? What is his next step? Nobody can read God's mind. Similarly, nobody can read a pure devotee's mind. But a pure devotee can read Krishna's mind. And Krishna can read pure devotee's mind. But others, they are simply awestruck, wonderstruck. They are simply astonished. That's all. Durasadaha Ati Durdarshaha. Further, Shukadeva Goswami is saying not only Durasada, Ati Durdarshaha. Bhutanam sambhabuvaha. So one may say that, okay, ordinary people cannot understand. What about great persons, powerful persons? Atidurdarshaha bhutanam sambhabuvaha. It is explained here. Indeed, he was unapproachable and unperceivable even for such formidable men as Kamsa. Not only for Kamsa, Bhutana, for all jivas. Nobody can understand about the Lord or the Lord's devotees unless you yourself become a devotee of the Lord. So when Vasudeva was carrying Krishna within his mind or heart, he was radiating illumination, but nobody can perceive that. And nobody can understand why is he radiating so much effulgence. And nobody could understand that he is carrying Krishna within his heart. And very soon he is going to transfer it to the heart or the mind of Devaki. And very soon Krishna is going to take birth. So nobody could understand these moves. So therefore, here it is described, Vasudeva's heart became Dhama. Paurusham Dhama. It became the residence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we will try to understand 6 meanings of the word Dhama. Srila Prabhupada explains Dhama means any place where the Supreme Personality of Godhead is present by his name, form, qualities, his paraphernalia. Wherever the Lord's name, form, qualities, and his paraphernalia is present, that place becomes a Dhama immediately. That place is called a Dhama. That means whenever we discuss about Krishna's name, Krishna's Leela, Krishna's glories, actually that place becomes sanctified. It becomes Dhama. It elevates itself to the position of becoming Dhama from an ordinary mundane place in this world. Spiritual world anyway is a Dhama. We are talking even in the context of the material world. Even material world, that particular place and location can become a Dhama if the Lord's name, form, qualities are prominently present, discussed. And the Lord's paraphernalia is present. Just like we have the puja room here. The Lord's paraphernalia is kept there. The Lord's dress, the Lord's jewelry, and the Lord's own bathing items. It is basically his dressing room. We have a dressing room of the Lord. All his dressing materials are kept there. So that is actually a Dhama. So we should know we are entering a Dhama. You're thinking, oh, I'm going to Vrindavan, I'm going to Badari. You're going to Dhama here only. We don't have that understanding. So this statement gives us a clear understanding. We're entering the altar. Actually, it is a Dhama. That is the second meaning. Dhama is the personal residence of the Supreme Lord. Just like you all have home, right? I don't think anybody is homeless or come for the class today. There are homeless people also we hear. We all have home, right? Krishna also has got a home. He has got a house where he personally resides. So you all have come here as an invited guest. You'll go back to your home, right? So Lord also has got his home where he returns back after his work of killing demons and doing so on and so forth, so many things. he also goes back to his home. That residence of the Lord is called Dhama. So after all the Lord's activity, he'll come back to ISKCON 213, 18th Cross, Jayanagar. And he'll go back to his room and we will lock him up also, so that he is there with us. We'll feed him, we'll keep him here. So after all the day's work, Krishna will come back. Then Krishna stays here. So therefore, this temple is called Dhama. Anywhere in this 9-acre land, actually the Lord's quarters, the Lord's personal home. So it is called Dhama. So you're entering the gate from the 18th cross, you are entering Vrindavana Dhama. Actually, because Dhama means Lord's personal residence. That's another meaning Prabhupada explains. Dhama also means that which does not belong to the material world. It is not a place in the material world. So interestingly, 2002 or 2003, I think 2002, we got this site allotted. So just like there's a zone change, we have in land conversion, we have zone change and all these things, we have procedures. Converted land, non-converted land, all these things are there. Similarly, this land got converted into Dhama at that point in 2002. So it became converted into, of course, as per the land laws here, some things will get converted. Similarly, in Golok also, the laws were changed, the laws are applied, and it has underwent another conversion, which people don't know. That is called Dhama conversion. So this land has become Dhama. So this 9-acre is not within the jurisdiction of Mahishasura, Pura or Mysuru jurisdiction. This is under the jurisdiction of Yogamaya. This 9-acre land under the direct jurisdiction and superintendence of Yogamaya. So whatever activities happen here is under the direct control and superintendence of Yogamaya, not Mahamaya. Rest, it is all under the direct superintendence of Mahamaya. Then Prabhupada explains one more place. Dhama means a place where one can contact the Supreme Lord immediately. Immediately. Where one can contact the Supreme Lord immediately. That is called Dhama. Otherwise, to contact the Supreme Lord, here we see Durasada Atidurdarshaha Bhutanam Sambhabuvaha. They describe the Lord is Lord, the Lord's devotee. Very difficult to even see them, approach them, understand. But in Dhama, you can contact the Supreme Lord immediately. You can see yogis in Himalayas, even in Kali Yuga. They're trying hard. They're trying very hard. Very, very hard to have a glimpse of Vishnu or Krishna. They've given up all eating process, all sleeping process. How many of us sitting here have given up eating and sleeping process? We're not given up. So they're putting real hard efforts to have one darshan of the Supreme Lord within the core of their heart. One glance they're trying to catch. And here, this leads to another meaning of the word Dhama, wherein while yogis are having difficulty in seeing the Lord for a moment, Vasudeva's heart became a residential quarter for Krishna. Vasudeva's heart became the residence for Krishna. Yogis are searching for Krishna, and Krishna has sought residence in the heart of his devotee Vasudeva. Imagine the influence of the devotee. We have Brahma Tejas, Vishnu Tejas, Krishna Tejas, Vaishnava Tejas. This is called Vaishnava Teja. The influence of the Vaishnava. So the Lord is seeking residence in the devotee's heart. Can you imagine? So this is another meaning of the word Dhama, where in the core of the devotee's heart, the Lord is residing, if he chooses so. So Prabhupada says, in the purport also it is written here, just like we speak of Vrindavana Dhama, Mathura Dhama, Dwaraka Dhama, because in these places, the name, fame, qualities and paraphernalia of the Supreme Godhead are always present. Similarly, if one is empowered by the Supreme Lord to do something, the core of his heart becomes a Dhamma. If the Lord empowers any individual, then the core of his heart becomes a Dhamma. And it becomes so extraordinarily powerful that not only his enemies, but also people in general are astonished to observe his activities. We will discuss this point in detail shortly. Everybody becomes astonished about his activities once the Lord starts residing in his heart and empowers him. Then, for such a devotee, he is unapproachable. His enemies are simply struck with wonder, as explained by the words Durasada Ati Durdarshaha. And the fifth meaning of the word Dhama is a place where there is absolutely no material influence. Material energy cannot uh, have its influence in that place. That's why Prabhupada quotes Bhagavatam, first canto, first chapter, first verse. Dhamna svena sada nirasta kuhakam. And therefore Vyasadeva says, Satyam param dhimahi. I meditate on that abode of the Supreme Lord. Param dhimahi means I meditate. Satyam param, that supremely, that supreme abode. What kind of abode? Which is free from the effects of the illusory energy. Dhamna svena sada nirasta kuhakam. Kuhakam means illusion. Nirasta means free from. Nirasta kuhakam, completely free from all kinds of illusions. The material world, entire existence is illusory. You can just imagine the contrasting nature of material world to the spiritual world. This entire existence is illusory. Entire existence, with all its details, is simply misleading, illusory and deluding, and therefore deluding, because it's illusory. It is not true. Deluding means to be cheated. To delude means to get cheated. Illusion means misrepresentation, something which it is not. This world is full of misrepresentations. Our entire life is full of misrepresentations. What we think, it is actually not that. We have relationships, we have so-called peace, happiness, arrangements for stay. Like Dhama is a residential quarter. So this world is also one kind of quarter we are staying. But we are thinking, this is my place. It's an illusion. You are being cheated. This is not your place. If this is your place, you have to be eternal resident of this world, which is not. You keep changing different places. It is not your eternal residence. Our eternal residence is in Vaikuntha, the spiritual kingdom of God. This is not our eternal residence. Temporarily, we may come for some time. Similar activities are also illusory here. It is not permanent. You see, you keep on changing your profession. You keep on changing bodies. And therefore, your entire profession also changes. Within a lifetime also, profession changes. Your work changes. Your profession or your duty is also not permanent. Your residence is not permanent. Relationships also keep changing. Every life we have different relationships, and relationships don't last for eternity. And we think this is permanent relationship, which is not. I think I have a permanent friend, permanent master, permanent family, which is not true. Very soon they will separate. So therefore it is illusory. You have been misled to accept something temporary as something permanent. This is exactly what is called as illusion. Similarly, happiness does not last, and it is of a material quality, not spiritual quality. It is not Satya Ananda Chidatmani. It is Asat and Nirananda. And it is not of Atmani, it is of Deha. It is Satyananda Chidatmani, as the Vedas describe. The spiritual existence is full of spiritual happiness, transcendental bliss, what we call as Atma's bliss. Atma Ananda, it's called Satya Ananda. If when Atma experiences happiness, that is real happiness. But when the body is experiencing happiness through some mechanical process, through some machinery, that is not happiness. Our happiness, our peace is a work of a machine. Work of a machine. These senses are mechanical parts of this body. This entire body is a machine, Krishna describes in Bhagavad Gita. So simply by some rotation this way, that way, just like sometimes you see one robot. Sometimes small children, you bring some toys and then it moves like this, like that. All kinds of crazy things it does. Lifting hands, small robots. Children, they're very impressed. They smile, they laugh, they clap hands. They're impressed, right? So our experience of peace, happiness is like that. It is simply mechanical. Mechanical parts rotating and triggering. Different triggers are there. That's all. It is not Atma's happiness, because Atma's happiness is of the quality of spirit, not matter or material. Spirit means spiritual. That means anything spiritual you come in contact with, and coming in contact with a spiritual existence, spiritual life, spiritual activity, spiritual taste, spiritual form, spiritual sound, spiritual instruction, your Atma feels exhilaration. Your Atma feels gladness. That is Satya Ananda, because it is Chidatmana quality. It is of a spiritual quality. So that experience, just when you chant Hare Krishna, sometimes you feel nice. You taste prasadam, feel something very nice. This is Chidatmani Satyananda experience. By Krishna's Kripa, even now in our material state, sometimes we have that experience. We feel very nice. Not all days. Some days when we chant, we feel very nice. Some days when we taste prasadam, we feel something very special. Some days when we attend Kirtana, we feel very transcendental. Sometimes. Because our Atma is not fully awakened. So at least Krishna has given you some sample taste, and he has opened the door of that Satya Ananda Chidatmani experience for all of us. That is why we are here today. Otherwise, we will not be here. So Dhamna Svena Sada Nirasta Kuhakam Sada. So Vyasadeva said, the spiritual world, the spiritual existence is Sada. Always free from material illusions. Nirastakuhakam. Sada nirastakuhakam. Not sometimes, it's illusion, sometimes it is not an illusion. That is why Vasudeva's heart is being described here as Dhama. Means always free from illusion. effect of illusory energy. See, for us, sometimes we are in Krishna consciousness, sometimes we are in Maya consciousness. Suddenly we'll say, oh, last 2 years you didn't come, I didn't see only. Prabhu, I was in Maya. Sometimes we say like that. Oh, Prabhu, from now on I'll come regularly. Like that, you see, I was in Maya. It's not that sometimes I'm in Maya, sometimes I'm with Krishna consciousness. Then your heart is not called Dhama. But Vasudeva's heart is referred here as Dhama because he always carries the Supreme Lord within his heart. He's always Krishna conscious. Never forgets Krishna even for a moment. Then Prabhupada also says Dhama also means headquarters or a planet. So the Lord's headquarters is Goloka Vrindavana. So wherever Krishna is present, Goloka Vrindavana presents itself also. Wherever Krishna is present, Krishna's planet also manifests or presents itself there. Similarly, in the Nectar of Devotion, Rupa Goswami says, wherever Krishna is present, the limitless opulence of the Dwarka Dhama or the Goloka Dhama also manifests itself automatically. So these are the 6 meanings of the word Dhama. Now, we were discussing about how if the Lord empowers anyone, then the core of his heart becomes Dhamma. Then he does such wonderful activities that everybody is simply astonished. We will try to take 6 examples if we have time. Otherwise, we will try to discuss few of them at least. Case 1, about how if the Lord empowers someone, he does something very astonishing. Everybody is astonished and awestruck. Let's take the case of Arjuna. Once Lord Krishna thought that Agni Deva, the fire god, the presiding deity of fire, or the controller of fire element, fire is a controlled element. Its effect is very much controlled. It is not impersonal. Sometimes we see fire catch from one point to another point. It's a controlled move. It is not an accidental jump. Therefore, sometimes we see there may be 10 houses, but the first house, and sometimes from the first house, the fire jumps to the 8th house, not to the second house. It's adjacent to it. Similarly, wind is an element which is a controlled pressure, controlled move. It moves as per the direction. It doesn't move impersonally. Somebody is controlling the wind pressure called Vayu Deva. Somebody is controlling the movement of the fire called Agni Deva. That fire has to burn is an action of Agni Deva. Just like a machine has to work in this way. It's an action of an engineer, a design engineer. A chip in a mobile or a TV or a car has to work like this is an action, a design of a electronic engineer. It's not that simply, you press the button and then the doors will open. It is a design. It is by plan. Like that. These material elements are working by design, by planning. And they have an operational methodology. We don't know. Those who are Vedic followers, they know very clearly how these things operate. So Agni requires herbs and many such things for its rejuvenation. Many trees. Because Agni also has to eat. Just like you have to eat for nourishment, Agni also has to eat for his nourishment. So naturally, many trees, herbs, plants are his nourishment. So Krishna thought Agni has to get rejuvenated. So let him eat the Khandava forest. So then Krishna told Agni, you please take the Khandava forest and then you consume the Khandava forest and then be rejuvenated, be nourished. But how does Agni eat? Because Agni is fire, right? So naturally, when he will devour, he will burn everything, and that's how he consumes. Just like you put the food in the mouth, break it into small particles through your teeth, and there are secretions from your upper and lower gums and from the tongue. There are different secretions from the mouth, and then you chew and break it down, and then it goes inside, and further there are secretions inside also within the abdomen, and they also break the food particles to different other portions of protein, carbohydrates, energy, calories, etc., etc. So many things are happening. Whether Agni breaks down the things around him for his consumption by burning things. So Agni burned the Khandava forest. So Agni could have done that, but he didn't want to do. He took help of Arjuna. He said, Krishna, you please help me. Krishna said, okay, Arjuna, please help him. So Arjuna helped Agnideva consume the Khandava forest, because this Khandava forest belonged to Indra. So when Agni was consuming the Khandava forest, Indra became very upset. How Agni can devour my forest without my permission? So he sent a huge army to fight. And Arjuna fought all of them. And then finally, Indra's mission was foiled and Agni's mission became successful. So Agni was very happy. And that's how Agni Deva gave this Devadatta conch shell to Arjuna. He was very pleased. So Agni Deva asked Arjuna, please take something from me. Then Arjuna said, no, I don't want anything. Then then Agni went to Krishna and told him that he's not wanting anything. What can I do? Krishna said, no, it's not like that. You must do some favor to the Pandavas because they have helped you. They may not want, but you should offer something. So that time, Agnideva helped the Pandavas. So Prabhupada says, in order to satisfy Agni, Krishna became the charioteer of Arjuna and both went to Khandava forest. After Agni had eaten up the Khandava forest, he was very much pleased. At this time, he offered Arjuna a specific bow called Gandiva, 4 white horses, chariot, an invincible quiver, and 2 specific arrows considered to be talismans, which had so much power that no warrior could counteract them. So, actually, Agni delivered so many gifts to Arjuna on the request of Krishna. Then, when this Khandava forest is getting burned, there was one demon by name Maya Danava. So he was getting burnt in the forest. Then he took shelter of Arjuna. Oh, Arjuna, please protect me. I'm getting burned. So Arjuna gave shelter. So that's how he was saved from being burnt by Agni. So then naturally, Mayadanam also became very obliged to Arjuna. Then he said, I wanted to do some favor to you, Arjuna. Please tell me. So then that's how he built the assembly house for the Pandavas in the city constructed by Vishwakarma to Yudhishthira. Sudharma assembly. And the Sudharma assembly had very, very mystical opulences included in this construction of this assembly house of Yudhishthira Maharaj. Different kinds of illusions for those who don't know. Like we know the famous pastime when Duryodhan, when he came to this Sudharma assembly, then he mistook a portion of the land which appeared like land, but actually it was water. And he again mistook a portion of the land which was water, but he mistook as land. So like that, it had many interesting features, adventurous features like this, that was gifted by Maya Danava. So we can see how when Arjuna was empowered by the Lord, he could even fight Indra and Indra's army. Then there's one more example again in the life of Arjuna, when Yudhishthira Maharaj was disappointed, being defeated by the king of Magadha by name Jarasandha. One time he got defeated. He was little unhappy. At that time, Arjuna gave all assurances to Yudhishthira Maharaj, saying that I will bring them under subjugation. Oh, my dear brother, please do not worry. Please do not lament. So Arjuna, Bhima and Krishna started to Magadha, the kingdom of Jarasandha. And then we all know that how they could defeat. So when he went to bring all the kings of the world under the subjugation of Pandavas, as was usual, after the coronation of every emperor, he conquered the country named Kelinda and brought in subjugation King Bhagadat. So Arjuna fought very valiantly and brought different kings in different parts of the world under Yudhishthira's subjugation, including, obviously, the king Jarasandha also, the king of Magadha. So he also conquered the capital of Iraq, Baghdad. The Baghdad's king at that time was called Bhagadatta. So Arjuna conquered him, defeated him. So Iraq was also under the subjugation of Yudhishthira Maharaj. Then he conquered another place called Modapur, which is presently known as Bangladesh. So he also conquered, went to Bangladesh and defeated the king of Modapur and brought Bangladesh king under the subjugation of Yudhishthira. So like that, Arjuna did many wonderful things, being empowered by Lord Krishna. One more famous instance, the third instance, when Lord Shiva also fought with, Arjuna fought with Lord Shiva and almost kind of defeated him in one dispute about a hunted boar in a forest. So Arjuna went for hunting to hunt a boar, a wild boar, and Shiva also went on hunting to hunt that same wild boar. So both were trying to hunt a particular boar. It was fierce hunting going on. And there was a dispute which came about. Arjuna and Shiva got into a tussle. So then they both started fighting. How can you have the boar? How can you have the boar? It is mine, like that. Then they both started fighting very fiercely. The fighting became very severe. Each not willing to give up. No signs of giving up. Finally, after a long battle, when Arjuna satisfied Lord Shiva by his military dexterity, military expertise, of course, Shiva nobody can defeat. But still, when somebody is empowered by the Lord, anything is possible. Ordinarily, it is not possible. So Lord Shiva was impressed by Arjuna's fighting skills and bravery and courage. And finally, they stopped the fighting. And Arjuna offered prayers to Lord Shiva. And Shiva became very happy and very much appreciative. He offered him Pashupata Astra to Arjuna. So this was possible again by the empowerment of the Lord. Then one more interesting thing happened. One time, Indra, who was the king of heaven, which is far above the moon planet, millions of miles above the moon planet, where Indra resides. It's called Indra Loka. Generally, Indra also has got his parliament, and nobody is allowed in that parliament unless you are specially qualified. You have to be a Devaloka resident. So generally, the earthly beings will not be offered a seat in the parliament of Indra. They will not, because they are not qualified. Just like if you have to go and sit in parliament, do you think they will allow you? You can go to a friend's house and sit and chit chat for the entire Sunday, but you cannot go to parliament or Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha and go and sit and meet your friend and chit chat or even discuss serious matter. You will not be allowed entry. Vidhana Saudha, you think you can just go off inside? Not possible, right? You have to be qualified. You require an ID. You require a permission letter. Why are you entering? Who is the person who gave you permission? So on and so forth. There is so many checks at the entry gate, isn't it? It's nuts. It's not a joke. A serious thing. So like that. So the earthly residents have no business in heavenly planet. Just like you have no business in Vidhana Saudha, you have no business in a parliament house. What is your business? Are you a minister? What is your business there? So you're not allowed entry. You have to become qualified. So like that, the earthly beings cannot enter heavenly planets. They cannot go to moon planet. They cannot go to Mars. They cannot go to, forget Indralokandal, even moon and Mars they cannot enter. Forget moon, even sun they cannot enter. Because after you cross the sun only you can enter the moon planet. You have to cross the sun planet, then you can come to the moon planet. Not possible. And forget Indraloka. So, but Arjuna was offered a seat. He was a special invited guest in Indraloka because of his, his name, fame, repute. The strongest man on the earth, the most reputed on the globe, in the globe, earth. So his name and fame spread across so much in all the heavenly planets also that Indra personally sent an invite to Indraloka, to his parliament house, and gave him a seat, half seat. And he was pampered and flattered and offered all kinds of special hospitality in the parliament house. So, because of Krishna. Then again, there is one more instance again concerning Arjuna. This was it is described Arjuna and the Pandavas. It is described Parikshit Maharaj is actually telling Shukadeva Goswami that he's actually asking. It is so astonishing that a small fishes have consumed Timingalas, concerning his grandfathers. Small fishes have consumed Timingalas. Referring to the battle of Kurukshetra, the Mahabharata war. He's saying, he's asking Shukadeva Goswami, my dear Shukadeva Goswami, how is it that the small fishes have consumed the Timingalas in the battle of Kurukshetra, the Mahabharata war? Bhishma, Drona, Karna, each of them are like a Timingala. And he compared his own grandfathers, although powerful, no doubt, Arjuna, Bhima, he compared his grandfathers to small fishes in an ocean. Timingala it's like, for our understanding, big whales. A whale can consume hundreds of fishes. When it opens its mouth, 100, 200 fishes will go off inside its mouth. Probably even 500, 600 it will take in a gulp. Fishes. Timingala are such kind of whales, it can eat many whales it will consume off in one gulp. That is Timingala. Bigger whales. Then how is it that A small fish or small fishes have eaten timingalas in the ocean of the battle of Mahabharata. So Shukadeva Goswami says it is all because of Krishna's presence. Krishna's siding the Pandavas. This miracle has happened. That's why here Prabhupada says in the purport, if one is empowered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead to do something, the core of his heart becomes a Dharma, and thus he becomes so extraordinarily powerful that not only his enemies, but also people in general are astonished to observe his activities. So all wonderful things happen if one is empowered by the Lord. That's how we can see when Srila Prabhupada in his life, this span of 10 years' time, he established 108 Krishna temples across the globe, covering 6 continents. Just a span of 10 years. That means every year, 10 temples, average. Every year, 10 temples. That means every month, 1 temple opening. So this month, temple is opening in Detroit. Next month, it is opening in Los Angeles. Next month in San Francisco. Next month in Japan. Next month in China. Next month in Tokyo. Next month in Germany. Every month there is one temple inauguration, DT installation. Every month. Imagine. So, empowered by Krishna. Krishna Shakti Vina Nahi Tare Pravartana is what Shastras say. Similarly, Prabhupada initiated 10,000 disciples into serious Krishna conscious practice. 10,000. And that time, there was no concept of congregation. Practically, they were all full-time devotees only. That was Prabhupada's influence. Wherever he went, they would become devotees. They would request that Prabhupada accept them as his disciple. And Prabhupada did accept, showing his special mercy, and empowered them to preach. 10 years, 10,000 disciples. That means every year, 1,000 devotees getting initiated, becoming full-time devotee. Here, one devotee joins, a big star of Mysore, headlines will come. We're good, no? Headlines comes. 10,000 disciples, 1,000 devotees every year. That means every month 100 devotees. Every day 3 devotees are joining temple. On an average. Every day 3 devotees. Imagine the influence of a pure devotee. It's called empowerment. And he made all of them commit to 16 rounds, follow 4 regulative principles, strictly follow the principles of bhakti, like that. This is called empowerment. So like that. So this is the what is described here, that Vasudeva's heart became a dharma and he became empowered to carry the Lord. Otherwise, you cannot carry the Lord in your heart. He was blessed because of his devotion. So similarly, all of us also can become blessed and receive empowerment to different degrees if we also sincerely serve the Supreme Lord and his pure devotee, Krishna. Krishna will use us for his seva. We'll stop here. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Shri Prabhupada ki jai.